What's going on, everybody? Dan here for Sim Racing Source. Thanks so much for joining in with me for today's video. So today's video, I've got some notes here on my laptop that I'm going to go over. And I'm going to talk about why I think, and this is something that I recently realized, but I think that Project Cars may end up being a pretty amazing game. Based on some information and some articles that I found, and I kind of put the pieces together, and it kind of has got me excited. So I wanted to share this with you guys. So I didn't really know at first why in the world Codemasters would acquire Slightly Mad Studios. That whole thing was confusing to me. We found that out about a month ago, and it just didn't make any sense to me, at least not from the Slightly Mad Studios side. Obviously, I think anybody would realize that Codemasters is basically like the Walmart of game developers, and they're pretty much going to buy out every other company that says, hey, do you want to buy me? They're going to say yes, especially if it's a racing developer, a developer that creates racing games. They're going to buy them. They want to become big and as powerful as possible, but I wasn't really sure what the benefit there was for Slightly Mad Studios. So I was just kind of searching around on my own time, just kind of trying to figure things out or whatever for no other reason than I had nothing else to do. And I ran across a couple of articles that are actually pretty old articles, but when you combine the merger of Codemasters and Slightly Mad Studios with some information or some quotes that are in these articles, a light bulb kind of clicked on, or a light bulb turned on in my head, and I was like, wait a minute. This actually may be something good. So I wanted to share that stuff with you. So the articles I'm referring to that I'm pulling quotes out of, I will link both of the entire articles down in the description below, and you're more than welcome to look over them while I'm talking about this or check them out on your own time. But I'm just going to be quoting very specific pieces out of these articles. They're both from GT Planet. They're both within a couple days of each other. And they're both about a year old. So the first article I'm going to be pulling quotes from is December 31st, 2018. So this is pretty old. Then the second article is literally a couple days later, January 2nd, 2019. So the first article is referring to some post that Ian Bell, who is and was the CEO of Slightly Mad Studios, he posted to the GT Planet forums, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is two quotes I pulled from the first article, the December 31st article. So the first one says, Project Cars 3, so he's referring to the fact that we will have a Project Cars 3. Project Cars 3 will be more focused and more fun. That's great. It doesn't really say a whole lot. The second quote here is the more important one. He says that Project Cars 3 will be a spiritual successor to the Shift series. Now, this is an interesting one, and a lot of Project Cars enthusiasts got in an uproar because this second quote to them basically meant they're going to dumb Project Cars down, or dumb the physics down and make it easier, or whatever you want to call it, for Project Cars 3. Because the Shift series is a series by Codemasters that I think most people would say falls somewhere in between arcade and simulation, but I definitely don't think most people would consider it a full-on simulation. So you can see how the hardcore enthusiasts and fans of the Project Cars series got upset about this, of him saying it's going to be a spiritual successor to the Shift series. So because there was this uproar, literally a couple days later, Ian Bell gets back on the forums and he kind of clarifies himself in what he was saying. And this second article has some quotes where he's making these clarifications. So this is where it gets interesting. Again, both of these articles will be in full length in the description below, but I'm only pulling a couple of articles out of each. So the first article, or the first quote that I'm pulling from the second article, Ian Bell again here, he says, it's more Shift, and Shift, he means the Shift series. So it's more Shift in terms of us giving you less of a sandbox and more of a fun game. I think I know what he meant when he was thinking this, but he said something different. So he used the term sandbox, and then what he said as the opposite of sandbox is fun. However, those are two totally different items. They're not even in the same category. They're not same. They're not opposites. They're just two completely different things. A sandbox is a type of game, and fun is a feeling that you have when you play a game you like. they're not really opposites. What I think he meant to say here is it's more shift in terms of us giving you less of a sandbox and more of a structured or a progressive style game, because that would be the opposite. Sandbox versus progressive, or a game that has structure or progression. That's what he meant by that, right? So that's pretty interesting. So he's not saying he's taking away the sim factor. They're just making it more structured and have a progression, which is cool. That can mean anything. Again, it's all this stuff combined that makes me think what I do, and you'll kind of figure that out here in just a few minutes. The second quote that I'm pulling for this was along with many quotes, basically him confirming that they're not going to affect the physics. In fact, he's saying it's going to be better. And the quote I pulled was, for those who love the hop-in approach of the current titles, have no fear, they will not be removing that. So basically, in a nutshell, in this second article, his quotes are saying, there's going to be progression, but don't worry, it's still going to be the same style project cars that you know and love with good physics, and if you want to, you can hop in, pick a car, pick a track, and go racing. So that's great. And then down at the bottom, I'm actually pulling something that the author of the article said that I didn't even really think about, but I think it's something very important here. And I think it's pretty interesting. So the author of this article in GT Planet, Kyle Patrick, mentions that in the Shift series, there was the ability to craft works cars. And I wasn't really familiar with what that is, because I'm not really that familiar with the Shift series. So I did a little research and figured out what Works Cars is, and I'm spelling that W-O-R-K-S. So after I did a little research, I figured out basically what this means is there was the ability to start out with a street car and upgrade that car to a full-on race car and then race that in various seasons. So in other words, it was an upgrade system within Shift. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I'm glad he pointed that out. And there were a lot of other, quotes in this that I could have pulled out of it, but I didn't want to make this too long. So in a nutshell, there were some key points that I pulled out of this. And so I've kind of highlighted a few things that I wanted to refer to as I tell you this. So in all of his quotes, I pulled out these things: the word focused, I pulled out structured, I pulled out progression, and I pulled out tuning or upgrading, right? So these are the things that I pulled out of these two articles. And what do these things scream to you? Well, I can tell you what they scream to me. They scream a good career. And so that's pretty awesome. I think what all this is saying basically is that they're going to create a Project Cars with a good in-depth career system. Now that's really cool. What that brings to mind for me is something like the original Gran Turismo, which is something I've been begging for from all developers for a long time. Give me the original Gran Turismo with current generation physics and current generation graphics, but it just hasn't seemed to really happen in total. There are some games that come close, your Forzas, GT Sport even has somewhat of a career in it, but it's not the same as that OG style Gran Turismo career. And so this is basically saying that what they're wanting to do is create the next Project Cars with that kind of in-depth career system. But there's a problem with that. Slightly Mad Studios is really good at creating a physics-based driving game. But you know what they're not that good at? Creating career modes. But do you know who is really good and has a lot of resources and has been known to create awesome career modes in their racing games? Codemasters. So when I put all this stuff together, it makes me realize that, wait a minute, they're just trying, they can make a little cash and they can also acquire the resources, the vast resources and smart people that have been creating these great careers in games like F1 and all these other games that Codemasters creates. They can implement that knowledge and that base that they have and put that into Project Cars and make Project Cars 3 a true simulation that you can turn the wheel off, has proper triple screen support, has proper VR support, all the stuff that Slightly Mad has been so great at, and also have a really great career mode in the mix, which, if that all comes together, would be fantastic. It would be awesome. And that's why I've titled this video that Project Cars 3 might just end up being amazing. So hopefully that kind of makes sense to you guys. Like I said, check out the articles yourself. They are old articles, but the information in them kind of helped me understand at least one reason why Slightly Mad might have wanted to team up with Codemasters. Now, there's one thing I want to mention. Slightly Mad and Codemasters have created a game that's going to be releasing this year that is not Project Cars. It's this new Fast and Furious game. I have it in my notes somewhere. Fast and Furious Crossroads. And the looks of that, it looks bad. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, just go look yourself. It looks really, really bad. I hope that trailer and that game doesn't give us a clue on what we're going to get out of the next Project Cars. But yeah, looking at all this stuff, I think that Project Cars might be cool. And I think it might give us that OG feeling of Gran Turismo. The original Gran Turismo is where it was kind of grindy, and you had to work your way up, and there was a upgrade system, and you had an attachment with, you know, some specific cars. It wasn't about driving any car you possibly can. However, they have also said that they're not going to take that away. So it's going to be both things. I think it will, it'll be a dream of a game for both enthusiasts. The guys that just want to go out and race cars and have leagues and don't worry about a career. And on the other side, there will be a really fantastic career for people like myself who do like that kind of stuff. So I'm crossing my fingers. I hope that's the reason why they ended up, or at least one of the reasons why they made this partnership. And I really hope that when Project Cars 3 comes out, that it does have a fantastic career system, because it should be based on the very smart people over at Codemasters that are really good at it. So that's it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Did you know about this? You know, and just what's your thoughts on it? These are just random thoughts from me that I thought would make a good video, and it was kind of interesting, so I thought I would share it with you. So yeah, let me know what you think below in the comments, and I'll kind of chime into the conversation down there. Thanks so much for watching as always, guys. I appreciate you all as always, and I'll talk to you in the next video.